Hello, welcome back everyone, and if it's your first time, welcome to my channel. And today I'm back with what I watched and this time we got kind of a big cluster because I missed September, and now it's December, so I've got October and November to go with that. So September, October, November all together. September was a kind of a light month, October was pretty good, and then November again kind of a light month on movies. Sorry I've been gone so long. Life just gets crazy. Time gets away from you just really easily sometimes. And I apologize. I'm kind of congested and stuff today, but it's the only day I can film for another few days. I want to get a video get a video filmed and edited and up for you. So here we go. So I'm going to start with September. We had a movie and a TV series for September. The movie that we watched in September was Malignant. That, of course, is 2021, directed by James Wan of The Conjuring fame. Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are, in fact, terrifying realities. This movie was interesting. It was weird. And I already knew it was going to be weird because I heard some reviews and stuff, some thoughts from a couple of people about it, and they were just like, what did I just watch? And I would agree. It's very, very strange. It's very reminiscent of some 80s type, like, body horror sort of movies. I enjoyed it. It's very, very strange. I know a lot of people raved about this movie. I didn't think it was amazing by any means. Somewhat original. Like I said, it took a lot of inspiration from like 80s body horror, but it was entertaining. Next up for our TV series of the month of September, we watched the new 2020 The Stand. Now, I will go ahead and tell you I have not read Stephen King's The Stand. I have not seen the original Stand TV miniseries. So I went in this pretty much blind. I kind of had an idea of what it was about and everything, but I went into this as kind of a newbie. My girlfriend had watched the original miniseries, and she knew about it going into it. It was interesting. It held my attention throughout. It got better as it went along. Because at the beginning it started off really slow, and I'm just kind of like, I'm not sure if I'm really, going to be digging this too much. But, it did ramp up as it went on. However, just the end fell flat for me. And apparently the last episode of this miniseries was kind of like tacked on. It wasn't in the original like book or original miniseries in the 90s, and it was supposedly written by Stephen King as well. I thought that whole thing was very unnecessary. I feel like the episode prior to that, like, everything wrapped up, and it was just like, okay, like, and then we have one more episode. Like, where can they go from here? That last episode was very unneeded. Not the best. I guess, again, it's entertainment. It was entertaining. Kept my attention. Had a really good cast. J.K. Simmons was in there toward the end, which was awesome. And so, I mean, we enjoyed it. Let's move on to October. October was the big month. My girlfriend and I, like, it was, it's Halloween season. My girlfriend and I, we were just like, we're going to watch a bunch of scary stuff and some stuff that we hadn't seen before. Rewatched some stuff that we enjoyed. I watched a couple of new ones for me. Starting off with the first movie from 1992, we have Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. Yes, I had never seen this movie. I'd always heard about it. Obviously, I'd seen the imagery of Gary Oldman as Dracula. I own the movie. I have it on DVD. I've owned it for probably like 15 years at this point. Someone bought it to me as a gift because they were like, you need to watch this. You would really enjoy it. I don't know. I just never got around to it. But we finally did watch it. It was on some streaming service. I can't remember now what that was. We ended up watching it, and I really enjoyed it. I know from things that I looked up in the past that this is the most, this is the closest to the book of any film adaptation, any miniseries, anything like that that they've done, at least to this point. I know there's some projects coming up in the future that may change, but I enjoyed it. Of course, I knew the story of Dracula before this, the whole love story and everything, and it was good. You can tell a lot of care, a lot of passion went into this project. Gary Oldman, of course, is amazing. Winona Ryder was iffy, and I do enjoy her. I like her a lot. And then Keanu, again, as much as I love Keanu, that English accent was rough. Same with Winona, but it was enjoyable. I had fun watching it. Like I said, I can tell that they put a lot of love into making this, and a lot of money, I'm sure, with the sets and the costumes and everything like that. Next, we had one of my favorite remakes, maybe of all time. I really enjoy this movie every time I see it. From 1988, The Blob. My girlfriend had seen this a long time ago. She hadn't seen it in quite some time, and kind of needed a refresher, I guess. I had seen it a couple years. It's been a few years since I've rewatched it. I really enjoy this one a lot. I think they did such an awesome job with this. I recently watched a YouTube video talking about the making of this video over on the Good Bad Flicks, looking at the making of this movie, or telling the whole history from the original, through this one and the remake, and how they did the effects for the actual Blob and everything like that. And like, man, they really put a lot into this. And like, that was, 88, it was the late 80s, but they were still innovating and doing, figuring things out. And it's like, well, this is what we need to do. How do we do this? And just like, those guys were incredible. The stuff that they were able to pull off with practical effects that still looks so good today. That's the thing. It's like, yes, CGI and everything is, cheaper in the long run. It's quicker, all of that kind of stuff. But it doesn't hold up as well as practical effects, and it never will. Like, it just won't. It'll always age out. Like, CGI will always get better, and then, like, we've been lucky with Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park still looks amazing. But there's so many movies that the CGI looks so bad. It may have looked great at the time, but now it just doesn't. But practical effects always look good. They continue to look good. Next, we have one of my favorite sci-fi horror movies. Man, this movie is an experience. It's got such a good cast in it, and you will enjoy it. It's a ride for sure. From 1997, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, it is Event Horizon, starring Sam Neill, Dr. Grant from Jurassic Park, and Lawrence Fishburne. Oh yeah, such a good movie. Highly recommend this movie. I've seen it maybe a dozen times. It's so good. This movie actually was the inspiration, or one of the inspirations, for the Dead Space video game series, which you can totally see if you know those two things. You can definitely see that in this. If you watch this movie and play that game or those games, you can see that. Also, little little Doom, I believe, in this, just because of what it's about. In 2047, a group of astronauts are sent to investigate and salvage the starship Event Horizon, which disappeared mysteriously 7 years before on its maiden voyage. With its return, the crew of the Lewis and Clark discovers the real truth behind the disappearance of the Event Horizon, and something even more terrifying. This movie, highly recommend this if you're into sci-fi horror, if you like space, movies. So, so good. It's got some supernatural elements in it as well. Check this movie out if you haven't seen it before. All right, next up, a new one this month for us. 2021 Escape Room Tournament of Champions. I really, really enjoy the first Escape Room. I know it gets a lot of flack. It's gotten, a lot of people weren't blown away by this movie. I wasn't blown away by it, but a lot of people didn't like this movie, didn't like the original or the first Escape Room. And there were other people that really did, that rave about it and consider it underrated. I really, really, really enjoyed the first movie. I think it was very good. It was not really original. It has the elements of Saw. It has elements of Cube. Highly recommend Cube. So I wouldn't say it's original. However, the way that it's done is smart, creative. It's a good movie. This movie, however, I don't know. There were parts that I really liked. As a whole, it was disappointing, especially if you compare it to the first movie for me. It's something weird. We rented this from Redbox. Came with the theatrical and like the director's cut or with the alternate cut or something like that. So we're just like, which one do we watch? So we ended up watching the theatrical cut first because it's like, that's going to be the main one. We were like, I don't know. And then we ended up just seeing what the alternate cut or whatever it was called on the disc, what it was about. And enjoyed that one more. Like, I think that one is the stronger. There's some plot holes that don't really make sense, but I feel like that one's the better cut of the film. Again, though, love the first one. The sequel was very lacking. Alright, next up was a new release for October 2021, a Shudder exclusive, VHS 94. I really, really enjoy VHS and VHS 2. VHS Viral was just a disappointment. Not a big fan of Viral. And, I'm surprised Viral didn't kill this, series. Just because it was that bad. So VHS 94 comes along. People were raving about it right off the bat, So we ended up ended up getting a subscription to Shudder and watching this one. And I have to say, as a whole, looking at the entire movie, wasn't that great. Was disappointing. And like the overarching little story that they had, if you know, there's like an overarching kind of storyline. It was lacking. It didn't really make a lot of sense, but there were some really good short films in this one that we really, really liked. The one about the scientist might have been my favorite one. That one was really good. The very last one was really good. I like kind of what they were going for and how they kind of twisted it, gave it like a supernatural kind of twist. Was interesting. The funeral parlor was pretty good. So like there were some good, short films in this, but just as a whole, I was kind of like, At the same time, I guess, I guess you could maybe say that for some of the other ones too. There some of the short films were better than others in the original VHS 2. This one I had to let sit with me. Maybe I'll rewatch it eventually. Next up, we have another new watch. This one from 2020. Train to Busan presents Peninsula. And my girlfriend and I, we both really enjoyed Train to Busan. Like, immensely. That movie is so good. A roller coaster ride, a very emotional, just such a good movie. So we were both looking forward to this one a lot. This one here, as a sequel to Train to Busan, I think it was a thumbs down. Like, as a sequel, like, it felt like two separate. It didn't feel like a sequel. As a standalone, like, zombie movie, however, I really enjoyed it. It was entertaining. It was a ride. It was an experience. A lot of cool shit happened. Like, there were some really sweet, like, action moments in this one. The car chase toward the end, it was just like, you know, I'm on the edge of my seat. Just it was an experience. It was cool. Like, I would rewatch it. It's got rewatchability. As like, it's got more rewatchability, in my opinion. Peninsula was much more of you know, kind of like your typical zombie movie in a way. So it definitely has more rewatchability, just because it's more of like, you know, you can pop it on, you can just kind of like, you know. With Train to Busan, however, Train to Busan is just one of those that's very character driven, emotional, stuff like that. Like, it's an experience and it's good. I'm not taking anything away from it, but that's one of those that you're not necessarily gonna rewatch monthly or whatever. Like, it's one that you might pop in twice a year or something, or once a year, just to re-experience this one. It's not gonna be one you rewatch a lot. Next up, we have the big release for October 2021, and that was Halloween Kills. This movie was so anticipated, and, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the Halloween series. It's not one of my favorites. I do enjoy it. But in my opinion, it's overrated. However, I appreciate it. I respect it. You know, the original John Carpenter's original Halloween definitely opened the doors for a lot of the slasher movies to come along, and it did redefine the genre, the horror genre. So respected on that account. Not one of my favorites by any means, but the closer we got to the release of Halloween Kills, the more excited I got. There was so much buzz about it. People were talking about it, getting excited about it. So I got excited about it. I really enjoyed the previous movie a lot, even though it did have its flaws. It did have, you know, some I'm not gonna say plot holes, but it had some issues. But overall, I would say that this movie was disappointing. Halloween Kills was disappointing. I didn't enjoy this one as much as the previous movie. There were some awesome kills in this one, though. I'll say that. There were some really awesome kills. And Michael was a badass. Like, he just... The dude's pissed. I think this one definitely went against the whole, you know, Michael is just a man kind of thing. He's just a man. Even though he is, you know, evil, Dr. Loomis was always, he's evil. He's pure evil. But, you know, Laurie was just like, he's just a man. But this movie went against that. The dude's a freak. The fact that he was able to kill a mob of people, he was outnumbered twice in this movie. Once when they were prepared, they knew who he was, what he was there, everything. He was able to kill them all and survive. It definitely took the body count up exponentially in this one, which maybe that's what some people wanted. Some people wanted more kills. I mean, it is called Halloween Kills. but the mystique of Michael Myers is definitely gone. They showed a lot more of him just in, light, just completely lit, not shadowed or anything like that, not creeping around. He was just basically kind of just like out in, the middle of everything, and just didn't care. He was like Chuck Norris or whatever. Like, he was an action hero in this one, even though he's supposed to be the antagonist. Biggest thing for me with Halloween Kills was just the character of Tommy Doyle. And I was so excited for Anthony Michael Hall to be in this movie. But Tommy Doyle was just a moron. He incited a riot, got everybody worked up, caused, a frenzy, and really did nothing constructive. Got a bunch of people killed for no reason, and then tried to go after Michael with a baseball bat. So that, Anthony Michael Hall, I would be absolutely fucking pissed if I were you and I took this role and what were made out to look like complete putz. One of my favorite things about Halloween Kills was how many people from the original that they got back for this one. That was really cool. I give them props for that. Alright, next up, because it was the month of October, and because Ghostbusters Afterlife was on the horizon, I decided to rewatch two of my favorite comedies, Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. I love these movies so much. Wasn't a big fan of these movies as a kid. As I did watch them, I did enjoy them. But I have such a better appreciation for these movies now that I'm older. These movies are so good. I even like Ghostbusters 2. I know that one's one that everybody's kind of like, yeah, I hate that movie or whatever. I think you either love that movie or you hate it. I'm biased with my ratings for these because they're so dear to my heart. But I gave Ghostbusters 5 stars out of 5 stars. And I gave Ghostbusters 2 4.5 stars out of 5 stars. Almost on the same plane, but, I do feel like the first one is superior. Even though, to me, the second one was always more rewatchable for some reason. I don't know why. That's always the one that was on TV for some reason, too. Like, I always caught Ghostbusters 2 on TV. A little bit of a spoiler for later on in this video. We did end up seeing Ghostbusters Afterlife. Alright, moving on in the month of October. Next up, we've got Joel Schumacher's 2004 Phantom of the Opera. I had never seen this one. This is another one similar to Dracula. I didn't have this one for 15 years, though. I ended up picking Phantom of the Opera up, I think, at one of the Dollar Tree drops, I think, last year. I've always had a love for this musical. I got it introduced to me way back in middle school by a music teacher. She ended up showing pictures of the actual Broadway show, playing songs from the Broadway show. All of these things really just got me interested. I did really enjoy this one. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to, but I will say that they did a really good job of translating this to film. The sets, the costumes, everything, the story, being able to adapt it to film and stuff. I do know that there haven't been films in the past, but this one was a lot more like, let's take the musical and, put it in movie form. Next up, a John Carpenter movie, and it's not Halloween, it's not The Thing, it's Village of the Damned from 1995. I still can't remember if I had seen this one previously. There were some things while watching that I kind of had deja vu about. And I don't know if that's just maybe I had seen clips or imagery over the years of this movie, and maybe that's what it was. Um, but my girlfriend had seen it a couple times. I may have seen it before. I don't really remember. But this movie is really, really good. This movie is very underrated. It's starring Christopher Reeves, aka Superman, or one of the men. Super. It's got Kirstie Alley. It also has Mark Hamill in it, which when I saw him come up on the screen, I was like, whoa, that's really cool. He plays the priest in this movie. I will read the synopsis for this one because I feel like, a lot of people may not know about this one. It says, an American village is visited by some unknown life form which leaves the women of the village pregnant. 9 months later, the babies are born and they all look normal. But it doesn't take the parents long to realize that the kids are not human or humane. And it says that they all look normal, and they look normal at first, but then eventually they all have white hair, which is weird, and they basically all have the same haircuts, hairstyles, Anyway, it's a really good movie. I haven't heard a whole lot about this movie. No, nobody talks about this one, especially whenever they mention John Carpenter. They don't mention this one, and it may be because he only directed. He didn't have anything to do with the writing of this movie, and maybe that's why it wasn't, fully John Carpenter. This is a really good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. Next up was a must-watch for the month of October, and that is 1993's Hocus Pocus. We pretty much watch this every year around October. It's crazy how this movie was very underrated, and you didn't hear a whole lot about it. And I mean, it was critically panned. It was a flop when it came out back in 1993, and now it's become, basically a classic. This past October, there was so much Hocus Pocus merchandise out there. At Spirit Halloween, they even had them in other stores. They had them in Walmart even. And it's not a cult classic anymore. It's just a classic. Next up, this movie I had seen mentioned in a couple of YouTube videos. We finally watched it. From 2020, The Empty Man. Yeah, we just didn't dig this movie at all. I don't have time to watch shit movies for the most part. I will give it a little bit of credit. The story was interesting. It kind of had it was basically the Empty Man basically is a topa. It's something like Freddy Krueger or whatever like that. It's like your belief in it gives it power, makes it, tangible. So, I mean, it was interesting. It's just, I think it just wasn't done very well, and not for me. Next up, we had a rewatch on the night that we were carving pumpkins. We ended up popping this one on. It was on one of the streaming services, and that is 1993's Return of the Living Dead 3. This is one that you don't hear a lot about. A lot of people don't talk about it. I guess you just gotta have a certain kind of taste for it. I really enjoy this movie. It's got kind of love story elements in there, like a tragic love story. And the best part comes toward the end when the girl just finally just kind of accepts her fate, and then she just gets, badass. Having recently witnessed the horrific result of a top secret project to bring the dead back to life, a distraught teenager performs the operation on his girlfriend after she's killed in a motorcycle accident. Next up, we got a comedy, which, is a rarity in October. I mean, this is a full-on comedy, not a horror comedy. I watched this one one day, or I put it on one day while I was doing some other stuff here in the office. From 2013, We're the Millers. I think this movie is pretty underrated. I really enjoy it. It's got some really good comedic moments in it. I think the cast is pretty good. It's got Jennifer Aniston, Jason Sudeikis, which, you know, from what I've seen him in, he's pretty good. Emma Roberts and Will Poulter, which, you know, is getting kind of a resurgence now because of the fact that he's going to be playing Adam Warlock in the MCU. Also, Nick Offerman. Yeah, like that guy a lot. Louis Guzman is in it. He's got a small role in it as well. It's definitely rewatchable. It's one of those that you can easily pop on while you're doing something else, have it playing in the background, and you know still enjoy just as much. A veteran pot dealer creates a fake family as a part of his plan to move a huge shipment of weed into the U.S. from Mexico. Alright, that was the end. That was apparently the last movie for the month of October. Yeah, I'm kind of sad. We missed out on a couple of movies that we wanted to watch for October. Kind of like our usual rewatches. Trick or Treat was the main one that we didn't get to rewatch. We were sad about that because we really liked that movie a lot. There were some that we hadn't watched in a while that we wanted to watch for spooky season, like Casper. Wanted to get that one in as well, and we just didn't. But I mean, you see a lot of movies for October. We pretty much watched a movie every single night. Into November, almost there. We got 2, 4, 6 movies for the month of November. November, a little lighter month. Not as bad as September, though. September was terrible. Started off the month strong in November with one of my favorite comedies. Oh, the cast. We got Adam Sandler, Steve Buscemi, Brendan Fraser. Do you know what it is? 1994, Airheads. Love this movie so very much. Swear I owned this movie, and I did not. I guess I watched it a lot on TV growing up. I know it came on Comedy Central quite a lot. The Lone Rangers have heavy metal dreams and a single demo tape they can't get anyone to play. The solution? Hijack an AM rock station and hold the DJs hostage until they agree to broadcast the band's tape. Next up, a new watch for the month of November. That is 2021's Candyman. When this movie was first announced, apprehensive right off the bat. I really enjoy the original Candyman with Tony Todd. It's one of those that is kind of ingrained in my mind because I remember watching it back when I was little. Like, I was probably too young to be watching this movie, and I remember it scared the shit out of me. Like, plain and simple, it scared me. I have such an appreciation for it. I love the message of this movie. It's not just a straight up, you know, horror slasher type movie. It's got a message to it that I really appreciate. Tony Todd is excellent in that role. I mean, he is Candyman. So when they announced they were remaking Candyman, that Jason Peele was basically remaking Candyman, I was nervous. I like Jason Peele. I'm not like a huge fan of his. I really enjoyed Get Out. Didn't like Us. I appreciate it. I think it was a good. I respect it. I thought it was creative. It was original, but I didn't like the movie. Maybe eventually I'll rewatch it and maybe I'll have a different opinion on it. I've only seen it once and just didn't like it. And I know this one, he's just the producer. He didn't end up directing. This movie was excellent. I was blown away at how much I enjoyed 2021's Candyman. I think that it was one of those that, just like when I was talking about Dracula, you can tell when a movie is done with love and passion and appreciation for the source material. And that's how I feel about Candyman 2021. They did such a good job. You can tell that they had an appreciation and a love for at least the original movie. This is basically a sequel to the original Candyman. It's not a remake. It's more of a reboot, I guess. But it's really a direct sequel to the original. I ended up rating Candyman 2021 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. And if you want a comparison, I rated the original Candyman the same. And I would probably give the new one a little bit less than the original, just because the original is just what it is. It's the original. It's the one I remember. It's the one that I watched growing up. The one that I've watched a lot. It's the one that everyone knows. It's the one that I grew up with. So of course I'm going to gravitate toward that one more. I'm going to feel more for that one than this new one. However, the new one is so good that it's right there, on par with the original Candyman. So I can't really give it a half star less than the original. But I felt the need to explain that yes, I rated them the same, but I would say that the original Candyman for me is slightly higher than the new one. And next up, we had the big release of the month of November 2021 on HBO Max, and that was Dune. Now, I never saw the original Dune. I've never read the books. None of that stuff. I knew nothing about it prior to the couple of months leading up to the release, just because it was coming out. So I started hearing a little bit about it. I was pretty much blind going into this movie, but I was interested in seeing it because it is a sci-fi movie. It's a space movie. There's a lot of lore. It's, I appreciate the author of the books for, creating this universe and all these characters and the hierarchy and all these things. But for me, the movie just didn't do it for me. It was interesting. I'm glad I watched it. I enjoyed it. But just not something I completely got, into greatly. So I will see the other ones, especially if they do the same that they did with this one, releasing it on HBO Max, since we already have that subscription anyway. I'm not really losing anything except time. And even then, I enjoyed it. I'm glad that I checked it out, but I wouldn't, rank it high. I'm not insanely crazy about it at all, but I did enjoy it. Next, we have one of my all-time favorite 90s comedies, one of my favorite Robin Williams films, and that is 1993's Mrs. Doubtfire. Easily one of my most watched Robin Williams movies ever. This is one of few Robin Williams movies that we owned. I think it might have been the only Robin Williams movie that we owned, when I was growing up. So I rewatched this one a lot. I know it came on TV a lot as well. It's just fun to watch. It's one of those that's very rewatchable, very easy to pop it in and have it playing in the background while you're doing other stuff. Even the jokes still land. They get better as you're older. You understand a lot more what's going on. You notice little things that you didn't notice when you were a kid. I gave Mrs. Doubtfire 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. Next up, we have a movie that I absolutely loved in the early 2000s when it came out, and I hadn't seen it in a really long time. I own this DVD, but I hadn't watched it in a while. I caught it on I think it was like Amazon Prime or IMDb. That movie is 2003's Grind. Grind stars Mike Vogel and Adam Brody. I think this might have been like one of their first roles in this one. We've got skateboarders Bam Margera. We got Ryan Sheckler. We've got Jackass members. Preston Lacey is in this. I think Weeban is in this as well. Randy Quaid, Tom Green, Bobcat Goldthwait. This is a lot of names. I don't really remember hearing a lot about it when it came out in 2003, which is weird considering, uh some of those people that are in it, like Bam and some of the other Jackass guys, because that was around the height of Jackass, and really like there was a resurgence there of the skateboard culture, which probably is why this movie was made. It's all about skateboarding. It's got a lot of like skateboarding montages in it, and it's just got some good comedy, I think. Four skaters follow their idol on his summer tour in an attempt to get noticed, get sponsored, and become stars themselves. Especially the main guy, main character played by Mike Vogel. His dream. He wants to be a professional skateboarder. He wants the money, he wants the fame, and he loves skateboarding. He has a passion for skateboarding. This movie's really good though. I popped it on one night when I was in here in the office doing some stuff, and I saw that it was on like Prime and put it on, and I still enjoy it. I don't quite enjoy it as much as I used to back in the day, but it's still definitely worth a watch. All right, last but certainly not least, we have the big release for November 2021, and that was Ghostbusters Afterlife. To avoid spoilers, I told my girlfriend like I wanted to see this as quickly as possible. So we ended up going the week of Thanksgiving. The only day that we had together that we could go was actually on Thanksgiving Day. So I bought us tickets to go Thanksgiving night to see Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I was pleasantly surprised with this movie. The first few minutes, there's just so many callbacks in this movie. A lot of things that you see just in the first few minutes that you're like, wow. I mean, it kind of sucks you in right away. The cast was pretty good. Like all the kids were pretty likable. The main girl, McKenna Grace, which plays Phoebe, she is really, really good. I hear that she's been in like The Haunting of Bly Manor, was it? Or The Haunting of Hill House, one of those two. She was in the Handmaid's Tale, which I watched a good deal of that, but I don't remember her. She was really good in it. Podcast, I really liked that character a lot. Paul Rudd was great as always. I like Paul Rudd. I think that I would have liked to have seen more from him. He kind of, he was a supporting character in this movie, so wasn't as he wasn't as Paul Rudd as he could have been, I guess, but he was still good nonetheless. And the mom was okay as a character. That whole thing, I thought the chemistry between she and McKenna Grace and Finn Wolfhard was great. I thought that they really did seem like they were a family. They all had like the same snarky, like sarcasm and stuff, like sense of humor and whatnot. So like it felt real. And of course, there's not a whole lot I can get into without giving away spoilers for the movie, but I really enjoyed it. The nostalgia was everywhere. A lot of callbacks. I mean, they retread a lot of the same stuff that's in the first Ghostbusters movie, but it didn't feel like a cash grab. It felt like they were passionate about this project. They wanted to make a good movie. Jason Reitman is the son of Ivan Reitman, which directed the first movie. He grew up with Ghostbusters. He was a fan. A lot of love and a lot of care was taken with this movie, and it really shows. Is it perfect? No. There are some flaws. There are some things that kind of is like, you question, well, why did they do this or why didn't they do that? But it miles above what I was expecting with another Ghostbusters movie, sequel, reboot, whatever you want to call this. I'm interested to see what they do going forward, as long as they they do it with the same love and care and everything for this franchise. I think it'll be good, and I think Ghostbusters fans all over the world will be happy with it. For Ghostbusters Afterlife, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. That is everything that I've watched September, October, and November of 2021. It's a long video, but I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really hoping that December is going to be a good month. My girlfriend and I have plans to watch a few of the holiday classics. We got a list of things we want to watch. We've already watched a couple, so we're off to a good start. But December gets crazy. You know, work gets crazy. My girlfriend works at a grocery store, so I don't know what her schedule's going to be like. So I guess we will see. As always, I want to thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way through, I appreciate it. You know, give me that thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Drop down in the comments if you have anything to say. Subscribe, hit the bell, all of that jazz. I appreciate it once again. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.